Yeah. We can make a toast. Don't you do the most. I've been waiting all day just to see you play. When the time is right, we can vibe all night. She's so fine, okay, like in every way, like in every way, like in every way.
What's up, everybody? It's Nicole Scott,
And I'm Jason Scott.
and we are your Scottsland Love podcast hosts. So, I'm sorry, I'm looking in the wrong direction. But first, of course, we start off by saying thank you for listening and tuning in. I think we will always give thanks and appreciation because we appreciate you listening in. We hope you've been enjoying the content thus far. And hope that it's been insightful for you in some form or fashion.
Yes, we really thank you for tuning in and appreciate everybody, liking, sharing all our episodes that we putting out. We really appreciate that. Continue to do that, and also on our visuals, continue to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can get all the episodes right away. Everything we put out. So just continue to do that. We appreciate that. That really help us, continue to push content out so, we can get some of the relationships better and help them grow.
Right. So hopefully you're staying safe out there. What's going on in America is definitely impacting us all. And so we hope that everyone is staying safe and social distancing. And just keeping people in prayer, keeping your family and loved ones close, connecting with them, FaceTiming them.
Yeah.
You just never can hear too much of their voices because life is just what it is right now. And so we want to really hold our loved ones, our friends, and our families tight. This is definitely a time where mental illness is probably it's just such a influx of thoughts and emotions and things that are happening, and people not used to being in isolation, and now that they are, it can just definitely mess with your mental space. So we're just praying for mental health, praying for people that may feel depressed, and just hoping that things will overturn soon. I just don't think that we would definitely go back to life as we know it again.
No.
I'll keep saying that, but we definitely keep all of you in prayer. So today, we wanted to add a little flair to the show. And I say flair because, it's just been Jason and I, and, we've talked about having guests on our show and things of that nature. But what better way to start our have our first guest to be someone that we know very, very, very well and that actually resides in our household.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So today we got a special guest here. As y'all know, we have one son, and so this is our son, Jamir Scott. He's our guest today, and we, appreciate him taking the time to, get on the show with us. But what we're going to present here are some of the things, that, him growing up and some things between me and Nicole as in a relationship. But I really want to plug him a little bit and, let y'all know that he's a, up and coming artist straight out of Philly. He's the next up. His ability, with words is really, like none other. So really, stay tuned. There's a lot of things he got coming up. And also stay tuned to the stuff that he already put out. Like, Destiny came out in August of last year. He also got Pitch that just recently came out in February, and also got mixtape out there, which is called New Regime on SoundCloud. So make sure you tune into each one of his projects that he got out, and he also got Back in Business coming out, in May. So March, May 1st. So stay tuned for each one of his projects that's coming out, and be aware of some great things coming from Mir Alim, aka Jamir Scott, our son. So
Jamir. So as I think Jason, you have the questions to start us off, but that's okay. So Jamir, thank you, like I said, for tuning in today and being our first guest. As Jason said, all those wonderful things. Jamir is an aspiring artist, rap artist, and we wanted to kind of showcase him today because we have to support our young people. They have dreams and goals and aspirations, and I think it's really important that you invest in their talent, especially if you know that they have talent and that it can grow and flourish. So I think that that's what Jason and I have been doing over the years. And so we wanted to just highlight him today. So welcome to Scottsland Love podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So first I wanted to kind of you are very familiar with us, so of course our podcast is centered around love and relationships and marriage, and so we wanted to focus and kind of like, although you see us as a married couple, we are also your parents. And so we wanted to ask a few questions that we have regarding what your observations have been over the years, how you've your experiences with us as a married couple and separately as your parents. So I wanted to ask the question, who do you think was the stricter parent between your dad and I? And also, this is a 2-part question. Who do you think was the strictest between the two of us? And can you name, or do you have a moment of when you were maybe disciplined for something that you actually had done? Do you recall that actually happening in your past?
So answer to the first question, who's stricter? I wouldn't say either of y'all was strict at all, to be honest. I think y'all just raised, especially all of us, on just principle and just being, having obedience to what y'all was saying and what y'all was directing us to do. I would say if I had to pick though, it would probably be you, because you're switch.
Who?
You and my mom, because your switch is flicked on quicker than what my dad's was. So I'm not saying that I can get over on my dad or get over on you, but you just are more tedious on what you want, and my dad will kind of lay back and he'll be a little bit more calmer, and it takes a little longer for him to just go off. So
yeah.
Which is a bad thing.
I think, but I also think it also has to do with just being a man. Like, as a man, you're not usually women are usually just more like emotional and just want to quickly be, but he's just like calm, cool, collected, but he still you respect what he has to say, and of course you and in terms of a memory, I could think of one with my dad when I was playing football. A lot of times we had practice probably 7 days out of the week or whatever the case may be, and he would, like, after practice, the coaches and stuff would like sit us down, would have you all come together and stuff, and he would tell us like whether we had practice or just stuff, events that was coming up or whatever. And a lot of times I would listen for probably about the first 10 minutes, and then I just zone out and just be like in my own world. Like, they just say the same stuff every time. But this particular time, the coach had just said like we didn't have practice like on a particular day, and I must didn't hear that. So we showed up to practice, and there was nobody there. So we always wait a little bit, because my dad, he always early, so we waited a little bit. So I'm like, all right. So, but in my mind, I'm like, man, I don't think we even had practice. But I didn't want to say that, because it's like he probably already like get the picture, but he just gonna see how long I'm gonna go without saying that. So then that's when eventually we left. So everything was like, fine. Then we get home, it's like the ref, it's just everything, and I'm like, I run upstairs. He like, get up, like he just go crazy. So I'm like, oh wow. So that's the first time that I really didn't get reprimanded too much as a kid anyway, because I really wasn't a bad child. So, but that was one of them.
Putting that plug in there.
That's true. That's a fact. So
that is true. Jamir definitely was a really great kid, and actually growing up, I think about how blessed we were, or how blessed we are still. I feel like we're still blessed no matter what, because I had the least amount of problems with him in school. He always was focused, did his work. I didn't have to micromanage him. He was always just that kid that I just knew that he can just operate independently without a lot of supervision. And so I am very proud of how you've managed to really, go through life. And of course, you experience things on your journey. But I remember one time talking to my brother, and this was the time when you was like heavy into video games. And I remember telling Lamar, like, he's just constantly on the video games. Like, what the heck? I was getting so irritated that you were on the video game. And he said to me, and I feel like my brother can always bring things like he's a jokester, but it's just like he'll say things and I just be like, you know what, you're right. You gotta laugh at it, but you're right. He like, well, would you be rather him playing in the streets, playing in drugs, or do you rather him play in the game and you know where he is? At least you know where he is. So appreciate that. That's what he's focusing on, or when you like the girl or whatever. And I'm like, oh, he like, be glad he don't like a boy. Like, he would just say little, he always make jokes, but he's right. Yeah. So, you're right. You wasn't a bad kid.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely wasn't bad, growing up. But my thing was, I was really focused on sports back when you was growing up, football, and track. So, cause I really kept on you for that reason. I mean, and you mentioned that I wasn't the person to discipline you most, but I was I was a silent killer. So it was like, I didn't say nothing, but if it really got to me and I felt as though you should have known, then I probably disciplined you at that moment, which that memory, I remember that. I remember that memory. Mm-hmm. And I probably had a lot of other discipline moments with you, but it really wasn't like, I had to beat you or nothing. It was just, fussing with you. Like, we had plenty of conversations back from track meets, back from football games about what you should be doing and how you should be conducting yourself, different things of that nature. So really wasn't bad, but it just had to remind you, a few times about certain things.
But I do recall before going back to us when we first had Jamir, and Jamir was like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. I didn't always agree with because back in the day, as we discussed in previous episodes, Jason has changed a whole lot. Okay. So his laid back spirit that he got right now, that wasn't always the case. Back in the day, you and I didn't always agree on how to discipline him. Cause Jason would pluck him sometimes when I'd be like, me, like you said, I make it clear, like, you're not going to pluck. I don't like that. I don't appreciate you doing that. You need to find another way. Cause I just feel like plucking is just mean. I don't know. Back then, that's how I felt. So you and I had to work together on how to, discipline him. I mean, I wanted you to discipline him because you're your child. And if he's doing something wrong, but like he said, he never was I
was always a calm person, but it's like you got to push me to that point for me to, really discipline you. Like,
Yeah, but being young parents, I think we were both learning on how to what was right and what to do and things of that nature. But
right. All right, so we'll move on to the next question. So, you obviously observed me and your mom in a relationship, as your mom and dad. So, what are the things that you see about us, or our relationship that you will want in your relationship? There's some things that we have that maybe you want to take in your relationship, that if you have a relationship.
I think first, y'all both independent. So regardless of y'all being together or not, I think y'all can fend for yourself. That's one thing that y'all both have taught me, whether it be just saying it or just leading by example, that y'all can be independent regardless of the situation, and be able to also be, regardless of the independence, y'all still can come together and be stronger together. Also, probably love, just period, like just loving through whatever, because obviously, like, my sisters probably wouldn't know, but y'all wasn't always together. So it'll be time I'll be with my dad, time I'll be with my mom, and my sisters would never even know about that, because they never, when they came around, it was a happy home, and that's really what they seen. That's all they seen. But I was around for the times when it wasn't always great. So I think through love that y'all just, continue to stick together and trust each other, and be able to know that, I think me being around actually would help, because if I wasn't around, your relationship could have strayed. But the fact that I'm here, it kept y'all together and bonded y'all together. Cause I think a lot of times when you have children, that could, help, you know what I'm saying, most of the time. I mean, not all the time, but I think that's a good thing too.
I think that's true, because I think you said in the previous episode that if we didn't have a son, you might not have been together. I think you mentioned that. You might have mentioned something like that. And I said maybe, possibly, but you know.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess I meant it as like, which is brings up a good point that you, because this is something that I think about too. That sometimes bringing children into a relation does not always mean you're going to be together. That's not the end all be all, and it doesn't always necessarily work for people. So you can be out there and you can make decisions that you make and end up with a result of having a child together. But if that person, if you realize that, hey, we have a child together, but it's just not working out between us.
Yeah.
To make the best decision is what you really need to do, regardless of you guys having a child together, because you could still make it work.
Right, because I'm gonna be honest, I you know, if it wasn't working out, I wasn't gonna stick around.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
I'm not gonna stick around,
Right.
and you know, have a bad relationship just because of the child. I would have been out. So
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
so
That's
that
just
is
fact.
important. So that's why it's important that we do. And I mean, I'm not trying to get spiritual or anything like that, but I think that was one of the reasons why I was like, after we had Jamir, I was like, I'm not having any more children until we get married. Like, I was trying to stick to that plan, because really, to me, that's God's he ordained it to be that way. And like I said, we just make those decisions on our own, not really thinking about those long-term situations that they may not always turn out right, but thank God that they did, So
right now, to add to that question, was there any sort of like uncomfortable moments that me and your mom may have had in a relationship that you have noticed or seen, that you didn't really like, or maybe thought it was good for a relationship, or as far as uncomfortable maybe that you didn't really
those moments is I haven't had one of those moments in a long time, probably since my sisters was born, because we know about some moments, like the moments around when we don't want to talk about, but we don't. We talk about it.
Talking about when we were in the car.
That was probably the first moment.
I remember that, but you don't remember. You were probably like 2 years.
But
old.
I remember.
No, he wasn't no 2 years old.
Yeah, I was about
3 years old.
No, I was like 5 or 6.
No, he was older. I think I know
that.
the moment he's talking about is Jason and I would make a long story short. We were having a disagreement. We were in the car. You was driving. You had your car at that point, so he was a little older, and I didn't like something. I forget what happened, and I was like, "Let me out the car." I was like, "Let me out right now," and he pulls over. And I said, and I'm getting my son. And I go to open the back door. And this nigga, I'm sorry. He sped off.
But I don't think I even pulled over. I stopped in the middle of the street.
No, you stopped in the middle. Yeah, you stopped in the middle of the street. I got out and I went to go get Jamir. And he pulled the heck off, y'all. Yeah. I was so pissed. So I had to take the trolley back home. And
I just remember, and the thing I remember, because we had, right after that happened, I wanted to get out. So I was trying, he was like, get back in the car. So I get back in the car, and then we went, he took me to my grandparents' house. So he like,
because that's where we was on our way anyway.
Yeah, I don't remember anything he said, but he just reassured my grandpa, like, whatever. And then I just remember going into the house like, wow, like that, it was just like crazy. And that just stick in my mind.
Yeah, I don't think I even went in the house. I just told your grandpop that he could Jamir. I said Nick will be on our way.
That's what happened. And my dad was looking like, okay.
I think he might even said like, "Where's the call?" I said she'd be on her way.
So like, yeah, I do. That's definitely.
But I calmed down before I approached the door. My blood pressure was steaming at that time.
Because I used to be like, my son. He'd be like, our son. And I'm like, whatever. It's my son. I was like, let me get my son out. And I went to go open that door. He pulled right off. Like, whatever. You ain't taking nobody. Yeah. But yeah, so you are right. That was one of the most.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable. Yeah.
It was something else in a parking lot.
It was another one. Yeah, I was about to say another one. It was after my after my football game.
I remember this.
I had we had just finished the game, and then it was another game after that. So I was just watching the game, but I had saw my dad, like, he was up on top of the hill, like, just watching over. So I'm thinking like, oh well, we gonna watch the rest of the whole game. So I'm just sitting through the whole game. The whole game goes by, and then I leave, like, because game over, and we get in the car, and he's just mad for some reason. I'm like, what? So y'all arguing, going back and forth, because he was like, oh, you should have kicked, because I ain't see you, like, you usually do this, when you want us to leave and stuff. So I'm like, you never did it. So I'm like, all right, I guess we watching the game. But he was mad, and they was arguing all the way back to the house, and it was like, what? Because I didn't, and my mom was like, just be quiet, Jamir. Because I didn't know what was wrong. I'm like, you never said nothing, so I just watched the rest of the game.
So what was the problem? What it was?
I guess you was ready to go, but I just was standing there. So you just like, I expected you to come after the game and come to the car, but you just was waiting there.
I didn't know that.
And you never said
remember
nothing.
this one.
So
Yeah, I remember that one. Definitely.
Yeah, I forget that one.
Okay. So as I said before, you are an aspiring artist, and I wanted to showcase your talent, and so I wanted to know when did you discover your love for writing and rap music?
I think I always liked to write since I was younger. I'm still young, but like young adolescent age. But I think I started rapping. Around 16. It's a long story, so I'm not gonna spill the whole story. But 16 is when I first started rapping, though. That was around the time.
Okay.
And I think around that time, 16th birthday or 17th birthday when we got the studio for you.
Yeah, that was a year. Y'all found out about a year later.
Yeah, okay.
About a year later.
Yeah, we found out that he, had the passion for writing, and he was into sports at one point, and so he resorted to the music, and so we invested in, his dreams, and so we did, we have a studio in our basement, specifically for him, where he can come home when he's home and just spend as much time as he needs to create his music. So you've released some songs, and what do you feel is the best song you've released, and why thus far? Because the best song that you've released probably have not even come out yet, right?
Come on.
But from your catalog right now, like what song do you think is your best?
Probably the song I just released, "Let Me Live." That just came out a few weeks ago. I think that's my favorite because it's the most personal that I've gotten, and it seemed to be getting the best response too, to be honest, because a lot of people like relating to the lyrics and texting me like, oh, this your best one, like I need something just like this on every, like, so I think being more vulnerable and just being more like transparent to people, like they can understand where I'm coming from, and I'm not really trying to get as personal because on like my next project, because EP, and it's not like it's not a full project. I don't want to get too deep, but I tried to spill a little stuff in there so people can relate to what I'm talking about.
Is this single that's "Let Me Live"? Is that gonna be on the EP?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you say this has been your most vulnerable, like tell us a little bit about the song, or like what inspired you to write it.
Well, most of my I think now at this point, like not everybody, but most people who've been following me for a few years and know a few years or so can know that I can rap. Like, so they know like, oh, he can spit. But I think now I'm just transitioning to trying to open up so people can know who I am more than so just like he could just rap. So "Let Me Live" was like just trying to express, how I feel about people who may say they down with my dreams or believe in me but really don't, or, just having relationships with different people and not really having full trust that they believe in me, like, so stuff like that. So that's really what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So who has been your greatest musical inspirations, even just growing up or even now? Do you have some?
Well, my favorite rapper is J. Cole. So he was one of the biggest reasons I started rapping. He's not the reason, but he's a big influence. And I'm a lot of people say I got an older soul, so I like a lot of soul music. So a lot of stuff, anybody who listens to me can kind of know where my head space is when it comes to musical people. I like old stuff like Marvin Gaye and Temptations and Four Top, all that type of stuff. But like in terms of rappers, J. Cole, Tupac, Jay-Z, Meek, different guys like that. I like people who I can relate to, and not necessarily the exact experiences, but what they saying really connect to me. So that's what I try to do with my music at the same time.
Okay, so what would your dream collaboration look like with a rapper or a producer, or?
I don't know. There's so many artists. I don't I don't even know. Like locally, I be thinking about local artists, like people that's still in Philly, like people like Core that people don't know about, who's a really good rapper that I would want to just connect with on a city level. But obviously I want to work with all the greats, like
Right.
all the great artists you listen to. But there's so many people.
And if you guys didn't know, the song that opens us up on our podcast, Jamir actually wrote that song, and it's a really dope song.
That come from the EP Pitch, and that's Make a Toast. That's our intro song.
We can make a toast.
So a lot of people like that song, like that intro. So make sure you tune into that on all social platforms, Spotify, Apple, and all that. But that's a great song. I thought was fitting for this podcast, so we picked it. So thanks for that.
So if you didn't have the aspirations to create music and become an artist, like what do you think your ideal job would be?
I get this question.
Now, I know you're not old enough. I mean, I know you're still in college. He goes to Shippensburg University, in case you guys didn't know. So, like, what? Do you even think of anything outside of the music?
To be honest, I don't, but I do at the same time because I understand that what the situation I'm in now. So I'm thinking in the moment, but that's my main focus, really. But I like entertainment. I just like, so if acting is a thing, I'll do that. Even if, like, I know right now my major right now is communication, so something report with news or anything in that aspect too would be ideal for me too if I had to pick a career, but nothing really else than that, to be honest.
Okay. All right.
Cool. So we gonna transition back into a relationship. So if you had a choice to have an ideal woman, what kind of traits would you want that woman to be? Similar to, I guess, your mom and dad. What kind of traits you think you would want in a woman?
First and foremost, I want her to be independent because I grew up around a lot of independent women. So even though
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm always breaking out in the song.
even though like I want her to know that I'm there for her, like, and I always secure her in anything she need. I want her to also be able to fend for herself if need be. I want her to be loyal to me regardless of any situation. Want her to be understanding, compassionate, because a lot of women don't necessarily understand. Not saying they don't, but they like men, we always like boggle our feelings up or not necessarily show that side, but women aren't always so open to even understanding what we go through or wanting us to be vulnerable. So I want her to be understanding. I want her to be clean because cleanliness is a big thing.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. I don't get it.
Definitely.
Yeah, you need a woman that can clean. Because we know you ain't lifting too many fingers.
I'm not even talking about it in that sense. Like, I'm just saying, hygiene and all that. Like, that's the thing to keep up with. That a lot of it goes on. Like, you would be surprised, but I think those are big things, and trust. Just the normal things that any man would kind of want.
So I know when I was young, about around your age, I told Nick, and I think in the last episode, I always wanted to get married. Even at a young age, because I was a relationship type of guy. Every time I was in relationships, it was sort of like a long period of time, and then something made it happen that made those relationships go astray. But how you feel about getting married, or would you want to get married, or would you want to have kids? Those type of things.
I would want to get married because I know most of the relationships I'm around, they're all married, or have been in relationships for a long time. So that's something that's on my mind. Not like I want it in the near future, but it's definitely something that I would want. Like, I wouldn't want to be wasting my time with somebody for so long and then we never, take a next step. But I that is in my future at some point.
And what about kids?
Yeah, I would want that too.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, you didn't answer that first.
Yeah. I mean, because I talked about having 5 boys. Obviously, I didn't have 5 boys, but
yeah,
Yeah,
I would want it. especially knowing that I got sisters now, so it's like now it kind of make me think. And then even when I know, shout out to Jana, her having a kid is like, wow, like now it's like opening my eyes, like, man, one day I want to kind of do this, but you know, it's always in my future. But right now I'm just focused on music and school and stuff like that. I ain't worried about it.
Yeah,
No,
please
yeah.
don't. I ain't ready to be no
we
grandmother.
definitely not ready. You just, just ask the question.
Can you imagine Jada as an aunt? Like,
Well,
wow, it's right.
well, she thinks she got a baby doll.
Yes, Jada would be like,
Yeah.
look, this baby crying.
Way too much. Way too much.
Well, you know, I wanted to know how you felt about like you growing up, you know, things that were going on when you were growing up and now growing up now for kids that are growing up now. Like, what do you see are the differences
like
in growing up?
Yeah,
in
like,
generations or like just
In generations in life, you know, from when you were growing up to now. Now your sisters are where it used to be, you know, at some point or age that, you know, you were, but how do you feel about things have changed and how do you see, where do you see the changes or how do you think that there are differences there?
Well, I think the kids now is much smarter than what we was, I think, because the internet and just what they exposed to is different than what we was exposed to. Like, I feel like I grew up late, to be honest. Like, a lot of stuff I didn't know about till I got, like, in 8th grade, high school and stuff. But the kids nowadays know about a whole lot more than what I know about.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing. And I think in terms of I try to put the kids, any of the kids that I know now, like my cousins or even my sisters, like I just try to set them in the direction of better than what I was. Because at my age, I didn't have nobody that was just, you know, old enough to give me some advice and just young enough to be like, I could relate to you. Like, because everybody, like all my cousins, I mean, I was the oldest pretty much on both sides with cousins. I'm the oldest on your side and second oldest. So I was learning myself. Like, nobody was there to really give me that unless they was an adult. So I just try to, you know, whether it be my sisters or any of my younger cousins, I just try to tell them what I didn't know and try to, you know, lead them in a different direction. Even though I'm pretty well right now anyway.
Yeah. And your sisters enjoy when you spend time with them.
Even though I'll go out on the air and, you know.
Right. But I think they really
what all
appreciate it. And Jason always say the girls bring out the youth in you.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, because, you know.
But they bring out the youth in him too. I think they have a way of just bringing these things out of all of us. They say I'm boring because I don't ever want to give in to them.
I mean, I think it's
much.
more so too because you don't have a brother either. So, you know what I mean? Because, you know, we never really played with Jell back then. My siblings, it was just all the boys together. You know what I mean? Jell was with my mom and we was all doing our own thing. And since you didn't have a sister, I mean, you probably just was with your mom a lot and then Aunt George a lot, but you never really had no sister to play with. So it was kind of different when you didn't have no.
Well, I had cousins. I had
siblings.
Kelly. I had.
I'm talking about in the house with you.
Well, not in the house,
so
but I spent a lot of time with them, like spending. You know, we always spent weekends and.
I mean,
so,
but even
right.
before the girls came, Jamir was playing with himself a lot. That's why he played the game a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he had nobody to really play with. Like we didn't. We played the game a lot when we was young, but I had all my brothers to play with all the time. So, you know what I mean? So.
Well, we definitely appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us. I think you are a really great leader for this generation. And I always tell Jamir, I think one thing I know both of us have in common is for sure is that we do not give in to peer pressure and temptation. Like, we have a mind of our own. If we don't want to do something, we not going to do it. And that's one thing I know that he has about me. And so the same, that we are alike. And we say that he's a combination of Jason and myself because, we both can see ourselves in Jamir. But Jamir, don't get on his bad side. I always know when I got to pull back. Like, all right, Jamir's not in a good mood right now, so guess what? I'm going to go upstairs.
Well, guess where I get it from?
Try to come talk to me, and I'll be like, huh, what?
I get it right from you.
Oh, whatever. So, anyway.
He get that from you.
What y'all
But
gotta say?
for me, I think he takes the motivational, standpoint for me, because he motivated to do his music. Me, when I was young, I was motivated to do sports and that type of stuff. And also, he was in sports too.
He was excellent.
He was really,
in
a great athlete too, coming up.
I think that's the thing that I miss the most about you growing up is the sports. Like, I mean, you just made me made us so proud, growing up and just being, just excellent. He was just all that.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't care.
I remember even, growing up when you was
couldn't
playing.
tell me you were. Now, I know you didn't go to NFL, but you couldn't tell me you wasn't going to get no scholarship to
well,
some
even a lot of people was always used
yeah.
to ask me, like, what your son doing? What your son doing? I'd be like, yeah, he getting there. He getting there. I always thought you was going to make it to that next level. I mean, as far as the NFL, but you had the health issue that set you back. But that's what everybody thought you was going to make it, because they seen that I didn't make it. They thought it was going to be passed down and you was going to make it. But
God had a plan. And God, our ways are not his ways. Our thoughts are not his thoughts. And so we're just grateful that, his will is going to be done regardless. And I tell you all the time, keep chasing your dreams. It's not going to happen overnight. When the time is right, it's going to happen. And you're going to be in there like swimwear. I know that's corny, but I don't care. So.
Yep. So we thank y'all for tuning in to this episode. We thank our guests. Mir Alim, go listen to all his music. His project is out there. It's Mir Alim, 2 1s with the eyes where the eyes at. So go follow.
M1R.AL1M.
There you go. So go
Instagram,
check him out.
Instagram, Twitter.
Twitter is the same thing. It's just no dot in between. So
check him out there. Continue to listen to Scottsland Love. This is your host, Jason Scott.
I'm Nicole.
It's Mir Alim.
And we out.
Deuces.
I've been waiting all day. What do I know? What do I know? All I know is we can vibe up if you wanna. If you wanna. What if you wanna? What if you wanna?